Mr. Speaker, last night I joined members of both sides of the aisle for a candlelight vigil to mark 103 days since October 7th. 103 days since Hamas tore through Israeli communities, leaving slaughter, rape, and destruction in their wake. 103 days since these terrorists took hundreds of Israelis and Americans hostage. And sadly, Mr. Speaker, 103 days of inaction by this Congress. I believe the sentiments and prayers our members shared at the vigil are genuine. Indeed, the vast majority of this Congress wants to aid Israel as well as Ukraine. But our actions, rather I should say inaction, belie our words. The far right has prevented this Congress from delivering the resources necessary to give our rhetoric meaning and impact. Hollow words, empty threats, and unfulfilled promises are poor substitutes for military hardware, munitions, and humanitarian relief. From partisan IRS cuts to a complete overhaul of our immigration system, Republican leadership has made supplemental aid to our allies contingent on completely unrelated issues. Mr. Speaker, I should point out that the Speaker of this House, Mr. Johnson, sponsored a bill just a few years ago, said only one subject per bill, because he didn't want to be forced to vote for something that he liked. At the same time, he voted for something he didn't like. From partisan IRS cuts to immigration, the effort to unnecessarily complicate this aid is ironic, considering that bill, which was called One Subject at a Time Act. Mr. Speaker, there's one subject that ought to be at the top of our minds right now: the defense of democracy. Every moment we are failed to act, disheartening our allies and emboldens the enemies of freedom. Hamas doesn't have to question its allies' commitment to their cause. The Houthis have made their devotion clear and have Iran, Hezbollah, and other Iranian proxies. Putin knows he has the backing of the new axis of evil as well. North Korea supplies him with artillery shells and ballistic missiles that rain down on Ukrainian civilians. Iran sends him suicide drones that buzz over the trenches through city streets across Ukraine. Iran gives those same weapons to Hamas and its other proxies to use against the people of Israel. We, on the other hand, are sowing doubt daily for our allies and for our enemies. At least 132 Israeli and American hostages remain in Gaza awaiting rescue. Innocent Palestinians await our humanitarian aid as Hamas continues to use them as human shields. In Ukraine, our allies scavenge the husk of burnt-out Russian tanks for spare parts. Ukrainian commanders are forced to ration ammunition. Artillery crews wait days for resupply, and when it finally comes, they can often count the number of shells on one hand. Has the wellspring of freedom run dry? We must answer them now. Our answer must be a resounding no. But actions now will be our only reply that is heard. The strong words of yesterday will be drowned out by the thunder of inaction today. America, a beacon of freedom and democracy, stands inactive in the light of Putin's criminal aggression and Hamas terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen of this House, let us come together. Let us act. There are over 300 votes in this House for Ukraine. There are over 400 votes in this House for Israel and for humanitarian relief. Let us not stand silent, inept, inactive, unable to help those who are on freedom's front line this very hour. I yield back the balance of my time.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Mr. Nunn for 5 minutes.